Hello my stitchy friends, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to do a little bit of stitching on my Heaven and Earth design. This is called Riverwalk charm, and it'll be great if you want to stop by and join me and we can have a little chat and do a little bit of stitching. I hope you had a good Christmas and New Year. My last video was a whip parade, so I haven't actually done a stitch with me this year. So this will be the first one, which is interesting. So I've chosen to work on Riverwalk charm, this beautiful coloured piece. It's my oldest Heaven and Earth design. And the reason for that is because I have this piece in my focus list for this year. So I've got to 50.5%. I managed to get some area done, which you're not seeing on this side of the canvas. On the other side of it's a very large chart. On the other side of the chart, I managed to get another 0.5% since Christmas. And I've moved over to the left side of the picture because I want to try and get a little bit more into these details here. But this is going to be tricky for me today, and I'll tell you why. Because I have been doing a little bit of cross-country, very limited in areas, and I have been flipping my work over to be able to start and stop at the back, which I can't do now because I've got a camera right in front of it, so I cannot flip my work forward to be able to end my thread. So I'm going to have to park whilst I'm doing this video, and I might also be in a sort of an awkward angle, which I can only apologise for. So I'm going to try and just hit some areas which are more comfortable for me to stitch. So it might be a little bit haphazard, but that's okay because I'm going to ignore this little bit here for now because there's like 500 colours in there and I'm not going to stop and start and stop and start. So I'm going to go to areas where I can get a little bit of stitching and hang my thread or park my thread after that. And then I'll come back and, well, I don't know, whatever I fancy. I might continue parking or I might continue cross country. Whatever the mood strikes. Yeah, it all depends really on the mood. Some days I'm up for the threads being parked. Other days I'm just not having it and I just want to go a little bit further with my stitching. But there is so much confetti in this area. It doesn't matter what you do. Right? Even if you try to do cross country, you're not going to go too cross country because there's so many different colours in here. You have to keep stopping and starting your colours all the time. Anyway, so whichever way you do it, yeah, it's going to be like that. So let's go. I'm going to start with this colour. I'm just trying to figure out my route. I wonder if you guys do the same when you do a little bit cross country. Do you first of all figure out which direction you're going to go in? Which seems to make sense to me actually, because if I don't have a fair idea of where I'm going to go, then I end up doing 2 stitches and having to carry my thread way across maybe 2 squares to get to the next stitch. And yeah, that just seems a bit wasteful. So I try to, eyeball clumps of stitches together and quickly try and figure out the best way to go that's going to use up less carrying of thread at the back, if that makes any sense. Okay. Now a couple of new things to me, because I used to do a lot of stitching on my big Q snaps, and I've recently sort of come down to using nerge. I'm using a nerge at the moment. So this is a large nerge hoop that I'm using. It sits better inside my Lowry clamp, but it's not as drum tight. I mean, it's okay, but as you can see, as I'm pushing it, it's still a fair bit squishy. I can't get it any tighter than that. And I've tried pulling and pulling and pulling at the edges. But obviously I don't want to be warping my fabric. And in some areas I do warp the fabric by trying to get it as tight as I can. So for me, the Q snaps are the absolute best, but I'm gone on to the nerge because they slide better into my Lowry clamp. But you know, I always say that's me today, but goodness knows what's happening tomorrow, because no doubt I'll just wake up and think I miss my Q snaps, and then I'll just go and take everything off and put it all in the Q snaps again. So yeah, I'm very much a whim kind of person. Sometimes I go for this and other times I go for that. And you can't really tell, to be honest. It just, yeah, depends on the mood, the way I want to stitch. And that's okay, because I mean, I've got lots of Q snaps and I've got lots of nudge hoops, so it doesn't really matter either way. It's not something that I'm worried about. So I'm going into the only thing with doing cross country here, a little bit of sort of cross country, and having threads already parked, they're just going to get in the way. So, oh, sorry, I do have a sniffly nose again. But I don't think I have a cold this time. This is due to seasonal allergy type stuff, which I do suffer from quite a bit. So if I go a bit croaky or I go a little bit nasally, you know what it is. I'm not sick. It's just, yeah, cat hairs and things irritating my nose. Which, you know, honestly, before I had a cat, I also had a lot of problems. Oh, I've just done the wrong stitch. Before I had my cat, I used to also have nasal difficulties and itchy nose and all sorts of things, congestion. Okay, so have I done something wrong here? I think I've done something wrong. I can't believe I've done something wrong already. That's not 1, 2, 3. Gosh, I think I have. This doesn't look right to me at all. I started in the wrong place. Well, you know what? That's probably good, because now I have to frog about 5 stitches. This is why I don't prefer cross country to doing snake method, because I tend to, if I start in the wrong place, I just carry on stitching. And because there's so few stitches here, I'm okay with pulling them out. But if there was like tons of them, do you know what? I probably wouldn't pull them out at all. I'd just leave them there. Yeah. Let's try again, folks. As they say, onwards and upwards. So where are we going? First of all, I'm just going to unmark what I've done wrong and try to actually pay attention. 1, 2. If you just bear with me, because I like to mark off all the stitches that I've done. Otherwise, I have no clue what I've done. Okay, so let's start again. So this is the bottom of the square. Thank goodness I'm using a grid at the moment. And we're using colour 610. So we should be going this way. I mean, with so many confetti colours, the odd stitch that's the wrong colour isn't going to make any difference whatsoever. But I don't want to make a habit of it, you know. My goodness, I'm getting more and more congested as I talk. Okay. It's just so typical. I mean, I was fine like 20 minutes ago. Now I've sat down to stitch. I can't breathe. Oh, well. Right, yeah. Now that looks to me like I'm going in the right direction. I was wondering why I was so far to the left. I shouldn't have been so far to the left. I missed out these 2 stitches that I've just done there. Okay. It's not going to be the perfect stitching position for me. It's not going to be a perfect angle, but I am doing my very best at the moment. So yeah, just bear with. So I've completely forgotten what I was talking about now. I was saying about, having desires to do parking and having desires to do cross country, and then switching them up, and it just depending on, whatever I feel like. That really is just it. And, I don't apologize to anyone for it. It's my work, my stitching, my style. And often I do the two things at the same time. I'll do a bit of cross country and a bit of parking and a bit of diagonal. Then I'll go off and do something else on the same piece. And it doesn't matter whatsoever, because I've never actually suffered from tension lines, as some people have. I don't know if it's because my tension is a lot looser, or a little bit looser than people who pull their threads really tight and sort of can warp the fabric a little bit. So I never had really, I think, tension lines, or any that you could just sort of immediately see. So I don't have a problem with changing my method. I'm going to go up here. So I find it's been far easier to flip my work and end on the back when I'm using a hoop than it is when I'm using the Q-snap. For some reason, I'm finding it difficult to flip with the Q-snap. It just slides out, stuff like that. And yes, I have tried things and rubber and felt and all that stuff, but it just got too fiddly over time. And then I just decided to get the extension, which works fine with Q-snap, except wherever your extension is placed, and it's a long, thick piece of wood at the back of your work, wherever that's placed, and I know you can shuffle your work from side to side, but there's no way I can work on a certain area of my Q-snap when it's on top of the extension. No matter whether I move it to the left or the right, there's a bar at the back, there's the wooden panel at the back. It just gets impossible. So it really is one of those things where one thing is good for one thing and the other thing is good for something else. And you find that you spend a lot of time jiggling around with your setup. Some people are still jiggling around. They jiggle around for years before you're 100% happy with it. And it's really difficult to get 100% happy, because everybody's got different seating positions. Everybody sits differently. Some people lean forward, some people don't. Some people have got back problems or neck issues, shoulder issues, and then they can't sort of duck forward, or they can't sit upright. And it's not as simple as you think at all. And it's so easy to get neck sprain and wrist pain and all that stuff. Yeah, I'm forever trying to work out. My best method at the moment is sitting upright as I'm doing it right at the moment. Not too far forward and not too far back, as upright as I can, with a cushion in my small back, and trying not to lean my head forward too much. Because if I lean my head forward too much, like, when you're reading a book or something, then you do get neck ache. And I do suffer from that, which leads to headaches and things. So yeah, gosh, after 5 years of stitching consistently, I think I've learned what works and what doesn't, mostly. But nothing's perfect. Nothing's going to be perfect. But yeah, I'm quite happy with most of my stitching days, which is how, it's a lot. It's better than I could ask for, really. It's very, very cold here at the moment. Probably not as cold as other parts of the globe, but we are definitely into the minus, talking Celsius, definitely into the minus a lot of the time. So when you go outside, the cold just hits you, especially if you're in a nice warm house, and it just doesn't entice you to go out. You just don't want to do it unless you really have to. Yeah. So what have I been working on? Well, I remember saying in my whip parade that I was going to focus on this one and Sad Fairy, and then I was going to just pick up others or not pick up others as and when, the mood struck me. And if I didn't pick them up, hard luck, just I'm not obligated to do anything. I can just stitch on what I want to stitch, which is tends to be my usual style, believe it or not. Maybe I'll park this one up here and then I can end it at the back later. If it doesn't get in my way, hopefully. Chances of me making a mistake there are 50-50, by the way, so we'll see. So I was going to be working this one, which I'm doing dribs and drabs, really, not rushing it or anything. And I have worked quite a bit of Sad Fairy as well. But it's kind of slow going because all the areas I'm in at the moment all tend to be very confetti heavy. So a stitching session for me for a couple of hours is only leading to about 150 stitches, 200 if I'm lucky. So until I get into the real blocky areas, I'm really not going to see a huge amount of progress anytime soon. So it's the slow and steady, a bit like how the year is coming in, really slow, and it feels like everything's sort of stagnant and everything feels sleepy at the moment. It's the days are mostly dark and cold, so my stitching is not in a hurry, it looks like. Now which one is this here? Okay, I figured out what strand that one is. But a little bit of progress every day or every other day is all you need to do to get a good amount of progress by the end of the year. And I kind of like thinking about things more in yearly terms now than I do in weekly or daily, because daily for me is just nothing. It's just a few stitches here and there. It doesn't really amount to much. But once you look at it over the period of a month, and even better over the period of a year, you get to see the huge amount of progress you've done. And it's far more impressive than what you can get done in half an hour or in a couple of hours. So taking photographs helps as well, because you get the bigger perspective of things. You can look back. When I look back at one of my pieces and what it looked like last December, which I did, I actually went back to my December 2023 Whip Parade, and honestly, I can't believe how much work I've got, like so much done on Sad Fairy in a year, and I didn't feel like I'd picked her up that much. I honestly didn't, but there was so much more progress on it. I couldn't believe. And that was a really good actual idea to do a whip parade like that, because you do get really good idea of how much you've actually got done on your pieces. So I'm still sort of working that analogy of just picking things up as and when the mood strikes and trying to keep these as focus. I mean, I haven't worked on this one for a few days, and that's fine, because I'm not going to do it every single day, because I know me, if I aim to do something, to do a piece every single day, I just don't do it. I just end up picking up something else. I know how my brain works now, and it's just, I don't like being told what to do. That goes for anything in life, not just the stitching. I don't like people telling me what to do. I don't mind a suggestion, but I don't like people saying you have to do this or you have to do that. I think my family know me well by now that I don't like being bossed or dictated to. I just won't do it. I just won't. If I don't want to do it and I don't feel like I should, it won't be done. So same with stitching. If I say to myself, I have to do 300 stitches a day on X, it's just, I know it's not going to happen. I've tried it and failed. So now I just go with the loose goal, which is a better word for me, loose goal of keeping this one in focus and the other one in focus. And if, you know, if by any chance I don't get anything done at the end, then it's not going to be the end of the world, is it? I mean, it's just a hobby at the end of the day. I think people forget that it's a bit of a hobby. Like, you know, it's not something that no one's paying me a weekly wage to do my stitching, so I don't see that I should treat it like it's a fulfillment I have to do. But I know there's people who thrive more on setting goals and plans, and that's great. Absolutely. I wish I was like that, to be honest. I'd have more structure, but my brain just doesn't like to be that way, unfortunately. Where can we go next? Let's try this one now. There's going to be lots of little gaps now, guys, because I'm trying to go for an area that's got more stitches in it, so I don't have to keep stopping and starting threads. So what I'll do is I'll come back and fill in all little gaps when I can actually flip the work over. So this does to me seem like a better way of getting more stitches done, you know, per session, because you are just continuing, you're not stopping at every row. But it really leaves a lot of tiny gaps that you have to go back and fill in. And then you have to start the threads and end the threads for maybe 1 stitch or 2 stitches, random ninja stitches. And also the counting now is starting to get difficult for me, because I'm thinking the stitches are still quite small. Am I going to count this wrong? Well, I'll try not to. What have I done here? So it's 1, 2. That doesn't look like the pattern on my screen. Well, I'll come back over here. Do some on this side. Yeah, they just start to look smaller and smaller as you fill in areas around the empty stitches. Sometimes I go back and I think I can't even tell you if that is a stitch that's been worked on or not, because it's been fluffed over by other stitches. And yes, it can get thick at the back with 2 strands tent, but that doesn't really bother me. I'm not bothered. I quite actually like the thicker look, to be honest, in preference. Now that I've worked, I know a lot of people prefer the look of 1/1, and I just think I'm different like that, because I find that the 2/1 is more like tapestry, and that's sort of more attractive to me. Is the more tapestry-like look rather than the very thin, smooth. And I think the thin, smooth works for me for some patterns, delicate patterns, like the butterfly ornament that I'm doing. I think that one does look nice being thinner with the 1/1 strand. But the larger pieces like this, overall, I don't see too much difference when it's you know, when you're looking at it from a fair distance. I really don't see much difference between this and the 1/1. And of course, I always like that I just get the stitches filled in just that little bit quicker with the tent. Nope, that's wrong. See, one misstep and you can just count wrongly. That's all it takes. That's why I find going a lot cross country, like more than 20 squares away, all the way down, would just be a terrible idea. And I'm still doing it every so often, but I have to be really, really careful. Okay. So the weekend's gone off to a good start. It's nice and cold and dark. Getting dark at 3 o'clock. Yesterday I woke up with a bit of a headache, which is probably due to the climate, I'd say, and my allergies. Wasn't feeling great. And then I decided to, get a hot cup of tea. And then once my head cleared, I got on to making some more Needleminders because I had to wait a while to do them because of Christmas, and then because I had a cold and I was sick and I didn't want to, I just wasn't in the mood, in the right frame of mind, wasn't feeling up for it, let's say, for making them. And they usually take me 2 to 3 days to do a batch of them, which is a lot of steps to making them. A lot of gluing and resin and, a lot of stuff, and sandpapering as well. So with my nose being all blocked and everything, I didn't want to spend time doing that. So yesterday I got back on board and made a whole bunch of them, and it came out nice. So they are up on my Etsy shop. Yes, since yesterday. Made a whole new batch of Needleminders. So yeah, take a peek if you're interested in taking a look at some of them. This one here is a new one, and that one's available. And this one I made a little while back, just before Christmas, I think. Beautiful candle. And I just, really enjoyed making them after a little break, because I was sort of doing them so frequently. I was getting a little bit burnt out and thinking, I'm going to need a break soon. So it was just as well that Christmas turned up, because I thought I really need a break from the Needleminder factory, which is what we call it. My husband calls it the Needleminder factory, which is quite funny. So I'm like Carla and the Needleminder factory instead of Willy Wonka and the chocolate factory. So yeah, we all need a break from everything from time to time. So it was nice to get a break from that over Christmas, but now I'm all set to get back to him. There's definitely stuff I have to say to people, but I can't. Every time I come on the camera, I completely forget. I also forget to write it down. There was one thing which just came to me. There was a lady who won my dog Needleminder in the giveaway I did last year. And I think she's been patiently waiting for the postal strike to end. And I think it's just about ending or ended. I'm not entirely sure, but I think I've seen some news that the Needleminder has ended. The Needleminder, what am I talking about? The postal strike has ended. So to the lady who won the dog Needleminder, the dog with the balloon, I will be sending that one off to you very soon. So congratulations again. I know it took a while, but yeah, there was nothing. I couldn't send it the end of last year because of the strike. So yeah, but that's all fixed now. What am I doing? Here we are. And also there's been a few people who still haven't received Needleminders, which were sent just before the end of the year. Have a teeny little bit of patience, because some of you are receiving them. It's just that there are post-season, post-holiday season delays and queues in delivering, and people are getting them a few days later than the delivery window. So I'm always saying to people, if you just give it a few more days, and it should arrive, because nearly always they do arrive. But if you wait, say, like over 7 days outside of the window, just come back to me and we can sort something out, and let me know. But I always find that many times they come back and say, they have arrived in the end, they were just late. So yeah, I mean, it is really that time of year, isn't it, when things are all queued up, especially with all the postal problems that we've been having. I sent a package to a friend of mine in Gibraltar, and I sent it on, I think it was on the 8th of December. She did not get it until the 4th or 5th of January, or somewhere around there. So yeah, it just always just after Christmas. So yeah, the post can just be that bit awkward. But if you really, really want to have, if you really want to know exactly where your parcel is, at any given point along the route, you're best off choosing the tracking. I know it's a little bit more expensive, but people say to me, is it worth going tracked? And I say, you know what? Me personally, if I was the customer and I was buying one needle minder, I probably wouldn't pay for tracked, because I don't feel like the balance of cost is worth the cost of tracking. Because one needle minder for £7-8, and then having to pay £5 or whatever it is, or nearly the cost of the minder in tracking, I personally wouldn't. If I was buying 5 of them, I might consider, probably pay for tracked shipping, because then I've spent enough to say, well, it warrants paying a bit extra to see, to have it tracked along the whole route. But for 1, maybe 2, I probably wouldn't. That's just me if I was a customer, but everybody's different. So if you feel that you want to know exactly when it's going to arrive, if you want to know where it is at all points and you can track it through the postal system, then do go ahead and pay the extra for the tracking. It's worth it. But if you're going to, usually it is reliable. The standard delivery is reliable. I haven't had hardly any problems whatsoever with the standard delivery. Just the occasional delay, I think. And there was one lost package due to an address that was incorrectly submitted, and a couple of delays, 2 or 3 delays, and that's on the standard delivery. So I think it's really quite reliable. It's actually quite good, and I'm quite happy with the postal service overall, to be honest, and how well it works from Scotland. I didn't know initially how well it would work, but it seems to be pretty good as far as I know. So yeah, that's something, because at the end of the day, you just want happy customers, right? You just want people to be happy and to get what they've paid for, which I think is only fair. Okay, so I think that's that. Now, do I have to get another thread for this one here? I'm going to leave that one. Leave those 2. There's lots of itsy bitsy ninjas that I'm not in the mood for right now. Where can I go? Let's try this one. 3862. I'm going to try one more thread. So I'm coming into a lot of brown areas around here. As soon as I get lots of areas like this, I just get lost. I don't know how people can work on a canvas that it's like a jigsaw puzzle. It's just like scattered stitches all over. It's hard enough trying to figure out where I am. I don't even have that many dotted around. Where is this section? I'll have to go by this little clump up here, down this way. I think I filled this in, did I? No? Okay. That bit. This isn't looking like anything on my screen, which is really... Okay, here. I think we are. No, here. I can't believe I'm getting lost. I know why, because I haven't marked where I've parked this thread. Why haven't I marked that thread? Okay, well, I found where I am at least. I'm here. I'm just going to leave a little tail at the back with my finger. So when I pass it through with his hand, holding on to the little tail, not pulling it through completely, which is definitely something that needs to be practiced, because there's always the danger of pulling it straight through or it coming loose at the front. But kind of got a bit of practice with that now. See, the other thing with having all these stitches everywhere is that I don't have, I know some people say go with the next symbol. Go with the next symbol in the square. Now here I can't even see a square, but okay, fine. Go with the next symbol. So I would presume it's that if I was going to go here, it'd be the top one where I've just put my needle up there. Just that first stitch in that space. And then you follow the color where it takes you. So if I've got one here, then I've got one, say, around here. Now, if I'm going to do that stitch and then come down to do that stitch, I've carried the thread all the way across the back, which is going to be on top of all of those stitches. So I know that some people flip their work around and they pass the needle underneath all those threads at the back so that it's not visible. Then they come down and do the stitch, or they end the thread where it is. They do the stitch, end the thread. I don't know how you end the thread, maybe pin stitch or something. I can't do pin stitch with 2 strands. They end the thread and then they start the new thread down here and do that stitch, which to me sounds a real pain either way. And what if you've got like one stitch over here, one stitch up there, one stitch over here? You have to stop and start 3 times. So that's the only thing that I really don't enjoy about this scattered stitch method, is that there's a lot of times when your stitches are going over, repeatedly going over a lot of already done stitches. Yeah, it's just, that to me is a little bit, better not leave my needle up there. I'll think I've got to do a stitch up there. Have I lost my place again? Now I have to pull my needle because I don't know where I am. Looks like I've done a stitch down here. Okay. I think there's one here. Ah, yes. I'm just getting lost. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 4 stitches. This is one here. I don't know if other people find it that they get lost as well when they're doing cross country like this. If you're not looking, if you look away and your needle's at the back of the canvas, by the time you've looked back again, you're like, where's my needle gone? I think that thread that's parked here is the same one I'm using, same colour that I'm already using. 4. No, it's not. It's not the same colour, so I don't know what that one is. To be honest, I think my parking method for me is probably the best one for me. Although I do get bored of it sometimes and I do want to change. But I think as much as I like being able to capture more stitches in one thread, I just get lost. And it's fiddly. That's what I think. And now I've just got to mark off a few more stitches. It looks like I've done, so that's 1 stitch there. I can't even tell if there's a 1 stitch or 2 stitches inside these little gaps. This is why I could never ever do this on like 28, 32 count, because I am just completely lost. Completely and utterly. Can't see. I think there's 2 stitches in here. Looks nothing like my screen, okay. Because I think sometimes my stitches have fluffed over, or, oh lordy, I don't know. Right, so what I think I'm going to do when I go off and stitch on my own, because this is getting a little bit finicky, I'm going to fill in that little gap. I'm going to bring all my stitches into a nice line, because I do like the nice line, and then I'm going to come along this way, if I'm still working down this end by that point, and maybe just go over all the little gaps that I've got here before they drive me mad, because I don't want to go carrying on cross country down here and then finding that I've got even more crazy gaps. So yeah, I'm going to start filling in now. I think that's the plan. Let's see if it works. I don't know. Yeah, so that's it. So I'm not sure when I'm going to be doing another update video or progress video, because I don't feel like I've actually got, since Christmas, much progress to show you at all anyway. So I think I'm going to leave it for a little while. Might come back again and do some more Stitch With Me videos. I've got, no problem with that. But I don't feel like I've really got much to show off. I'm only working on the same one or the same two at the moment, which is fine for me. I mean, I'm going to get busier with other things. So I'm quite happy to get more progress on less whips at the moment than just being, just putting in 100 here, another 100 and another one, another 100 and another one. Sometimes I like doing that, but at the moment I'm feeling more like I want to see more progress on the 1 or 2 or even 3. So I'm going to continue with that for as long as it suits me, and we'll see how far I get. I know it's not as exciting as working on lots of things, and I know a lot of you said, well, my favorite is this one and my favorite is that one. Well, to be honest, they're all my favorites, otherwise I wouldn't be doing them. I like all the ones that I've picked. I don't know if I'm going to get working on all of them again this year or not, because like I said, I like to just pick and choose at whim. So, but we'll see how it goes. I mean, it's just another thing, isn't it? I'm not a planner. I don't really like to plan things with the stitching. I like to just go with my gut feelings, and yeah, so hopefully that will be okay. So I'm going to end it here, guys, and I'm going to wish you a very nice week ahead. Hope you get a nice weekend in also, and take care of yourselves. I'll be back very soon with another Stitch With Me. Bye.